You should be warned, the upcoming episode will be full of unfiltered, off-the-cuff discussion. As such, you should consider this your spoiler warning.
Hello, my name is Kyle.
I'm Ryan.
And when our powers combine, we form
Experience Grind Podcast.
The podcast where, for better or worse, for good or bad, we will grind out every experience presented to us and give you our honest opinion on those experiences. Today, Ryan, we have quite the experience going on right here. Mm-hmm. We're joined by the very special guest, Lil BUB, and her dude, Mike.
That's me.
That is him. We have... We're here to talk about the Lil BUB game that is in development right now. And you guys are working on a Kickstarter on that. Oh.
Yep.
Bub?
Hey, Bub, why don't you tell us about the game?
Yeah, what do you got to say about it, Bub?
Well, she's not done. Just give her a minute. Jeez.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm talking all over her. Bub, you little cutie. I cannot... You're starring in your own game. This cat, I think, has done more than most people do in their entire lives.
It's true.
I would say that's easily describing her. And she's a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, she's cleaning her foot right now.
Yeah, she's
It's amazing.
I mean, how many people do you see clean their foot?
she's so
camera.
involved. Like,
I try to never clean my feet.
so I mean, I don't know. We're just gonna talk about Bub. We're gonna talk about the game. We're gonna take it just kind of relaxed. So I guess the first question. How did you come to be in Lil BUB's possession? How did she come to own you?
Well, there's two stories. One is palatable to, the normal pedestrian type person, and that is that she was discovered as the runt of a feral litter in a tool shed in Unionville, which is right next door to Bloomington. And they discovered her when she was about a week old and bottle fed her and tried to find her a home. They didn't have a lot of luck, which is when my friends texted me a picture of her, and I came over to meet her because she was so unbelievably special. Even from the photo, she looked like Gizmo.
Okay,
only real.
Yeah.
And cuter.
She sounds like Gizmo too.
It's
a little
pretty
bit,
good comparison.
yeah.
And but the true story is that she's from space.
Yeah, she's a space cat.
And she crashed to Earth and quickly crawled to the nearest shelter, where she was thrilled to discover that there were these creatures that looked remarkably like her, although not quite like her.
Enough to fit in.
Enough to blend in. And so, hey, Bub, that's...
Oh.
She does a post-meal obsessive cleaning.
As all cats and cat-like creatures are like to do.
Perfect.
So she's very tiny for a cat, though.
Yeah, that's where the Lil comes
Yeah,
from.
She's pretty much perpetually kitten-esque, correct?
In a way, yeah. She definitely has retained many of her kitten-like features.
Now, do you think that that's an alien safety device to keep her looking cuter, to prevent attacks from like the government and the Men in Black?
So it's hard to interpret all her messages, but I'm fairly certain that, far, far away, there's a colony of extraterrestrials who have been watching humans for a long time, but they're far away. It's not like they can just see with clear vision what's going on, but they've been taking notes, and they notice that a lot of humans have these companions with them, and they let these companions just roam around their house, and they realize that's the perfect way to infiltrate,
gather intelligence.
And gather intelligence. What they did is they gathered what they could of these creatures, these cats, and they, through light years, some data gets lost, and they got a few things off, just a little off. And so they came up with Bub, thinking that it was a cat, but, she's a little short and her tongue sticks out, it's just a little off. And So that's why she's here, is to gather data. But I think she's abandoned that mission and has her own mission, which is to create this video game. She just fell in love with video games.
As we all do.
As soon as she got here, she was like, dude, this is fucking cool.
Were there any specific video games you fell in love with?
She's a big fan of Faxanadu.
Okay.
Nintendo NES, right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's one of those, like when. So I collected Nintendo games. I got my NES when I was my 5th birthday, 1985, and it blew my mind wide open. And over time, I collected all these games, and somehow I got a lot of C game, like C level games, like generic-ish games, or games that weren't like the hits, and they kind of collected dust. And then my first renaissance with Nintendo was in college, so 2000, 2001, and mainly Tetris. The dudes in the house I lived in, we were absolutely insanely all we did. We didn't party and hang out like other college kids. We literally played Tetris. Super aggressively, had a scoreboard, and would just drink and listen to records and play Tetris.
I like that.
But then, that's Joe. She's another cat. Then, digging through this dusty box of games, I saw Faxanadu, and it has this really dull cover. You can't even pronounce the damn name of the game. And you certainly didn't keep the instruction manual, but it's just sitting there. And I popped it in one day and started playing, and it's really dreary, and it's actually an amazing game. It's very dark,
really,
very sort of depressing, and
is it side scroller?
It's a side scroller. I don't know it's not quite role playing. It's role playing in the way that isn't there a side scrolling Zelda 2?
Yeah, Zelda 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Zelda 2, but it's just always raining and dreary. And it's it's pretty cool because when you think about it, games were meant to be so bubbly and really eye catching and very colorful. And someone was super bummed out when they made this game.
I hate my life.
And it's really good. The storyline, I don't remember it now, but anyway, that's a big Nintendo, and then a little early PC gaming are basically. I haven't played video games. I played Ocarina of Time. That was
yeah.
Well, no, this
when
was
it came out. Okay,
it was after it came out. It might have been 2000, 2001, and probably came out in the late 90s or something.
It came out in '98, I believe.
Yeah, so it was a few years, but that was the last truly immersive video game experience.
I've been trying to get him to play it for a while.
You've never played it?
I'm not a Zelda fan. I like
not really a guy. Yeah.
the NES Zelda.
Yeah, it's great.
That was fantastic. Wasted so many hours of my life as a kid on that game. 3D Zelda, not been able to get into.
I think they transitioned
Wife's
very well.
A super fan, but
oh really?
Yeah.
So another game that I wasted so much time and then never got the hang of, but for something it was so intriguing about it, I had to keep trying to figure out if it could be fun. Was the first Ultima?
Oh, okay.
Which was for Nintendo,
online, but just Ultima.
The first NES
okay.
Ultima. It's straight up you can barely make out what these things are supposed to be, and you just randomly walk around. And then you're in a battle, and it's the most rudimentary turn-based role playing.
Yeah.
And I was just what am I supposed to do in this game? I read the manual 10 times. I was I got some points.
It's one of those things too. As a kid, there's so many games where you have no idea if you're doing it right. What?
Yeah.
But it's still. It mesmerizes you. It captures you. I don't know.
Absolutely, dude. Sorry, I keep, and this is relevant because it's
going,
an influence. It was an influence when designing Hello Earth, the Bub game, is Bionic Commando.
Okay, I can totally feel that playing the game.
Do you remember that game? It's Commando. It was a side scroller, but he had that grappling arm that you would have to. And I thought that was such a brilliant sort of. Especially for such an early game, as a mechanic, a gaming.
Yeah, and they
style.
didn't really ever do anything kind of like that again. They abandoned that grapple mechanic, and it was very, very unique.
They kind of used it in Rygar too, didn't they?
I don't know if I played
Rygar.
Rygar.
The shield on a chain, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
But Rygar's another one. It's Rygar, and then it disappeared forever, and.
They tried to bring both those back, and they did not transition
Commando?
to well. Bionic Commando and Rygar both had, I think they were PS2.
Bionic Commando was 360 PS3 generation.
Okay, yeah.
and it was not good.
And Rygar was
his wife
PS2.
died and then became
The arm?
mechanical arm.
Yeah, it's
that
really
was
silly.
the
The
grappling
wife?
hook.
His wife died, yeah.
That was
And he
the
also-
storyline.
Wait. So you
Yeah.
shoot his wife out of your...
She's
No.
living
Yeah,
in the
that
arm
is
as like an
literally what
AI. It's
happens.
really,
Yeah.
really weird. And he has
Dude,
dreadlocks.
that's actually genius.
I
Wait,
don't know.
she has dreadlocks?
No, the
He
dude
has
does. The
dreadlocks.
bionic commando.
See, that's where they went wrong. They should have had her have dreadlocks, and they had special
And that's why
powers.
she shoots out. Yeah,
yes,
totally.
I mean,
yeah.
there you go.
I hope they watch this podcast, and then if you do it, you're in
Make
trouble.
another one.
Bub's lawyers will call you.
Yes. Before
You're,
there were 0 people asking for a Bionic Commando 2, now there are 3 people
Yeah.
asking for Bionic Commando
With
2.
dreads again.
Yeah.
But do it the right way.
So he had dreads, so he was like the revived Vanilla Ice
Yes.
Yeah.
with a wife as an arm.
He was, I mean, I don't know how far you got into video gaming, but he was essentially Eddie from Tekken.
I don't know. Oh, Eddie from Tekken.
Eddie from Tekken. The guy
Eddie
who
Gordo.
was
Oh,
yeah,
suspended on
yeah,
his
yeah.
feet. Like,
Was he
it
like the really rubbery, pale
Yes.
guy?
Yeah, but
Was
he
that
had
him?
dreadlocks. Yeah.
Oh, he did. Now I do remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But,
Your upbringing video game wise is actually very similar to our sound engineer who was he played
When were you
NES.
born? 80. Yeah, so there we go.
He grew up with NES and he stopped. He still doesn't play anything other than that. And very similar to how you guys grew up in college. A few years ago, him and I had a NES ice hockey league where it was just him and I in
sweet.
it. And we played every week and we kept a running scoreboard.
That sounds great,
I
dude.
mean, Tyler and I are the only ones who ever won.
You guys
way.
did. We did
We're
have
the only
tournaments.
ones who won.
We did have 2 ice hockey
I mean-
tournaments, and both. of you
Well, I'm
guys
curious,
won it.
how old are all you guys? Because I'm just curious, like, how many people, how
He's
relevant.
the youngest.
I'm 86. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
84, and you were 82, and you were also 82.
Because you don't think about it, because maybe to someone born in 86, is the NES relevant at all besides like a nostalgic or like, oh, dude.
No,
That
I
was
grew
cool.
up with the NES.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, the SNES and Genesis started happening, but my family didn't afford that right away.
Oh,
so
right.
I was NES for like the first 10 years of my life.
So yeah, one thing, you guys edit this podcast, right?
Well, I mean, lazily.
Yeah.
But you can cut out, I think she needs to take a dump. is
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm
go
saying.
ahead. Go ahead. We'll take a break. We always take bathroom breaks. Go ahead.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I just wonder, like to me NES was critical, but the new systems come so quickly.
Nowadays, yeah. Well,
Back then even, I mean SNES
back
was
then.
like,
I think it was 93, 92,
I guess that was
93.
like
93.
9 years later. Okay, Bob, I'll take you.
We'll do it. No break. No break.
Break. Yeah, so I don't think interesting story I do have though is that I played the SNES way before anyone else, any of my peers, like
Really?
a year early, because you got, what was it called, the Nintendo magazine,
Yeah, Nintendo Power.
dude. Man, I
That
could
magazine was
not
amazing.
wait for that magazine
Yeah.
to come out, and you'd see all the pictures and read about it was called the Famicom, right?
Super Famicom.
Super Famicom, and it was going to come out as a Super NES, and like it was like I was more excited about that than like Reebok pumps. And
Those were also very cool.
I
though.
did get
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
and the very first pair, which are probably worth a crazy
I
amount
also
of
had
money.
these shoes called like kangaroos that had like a pouch in the.
Oh, the Roos. They still make those, yeah.
they do.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, I remember having those as a kid. I love those.
I was not a cool kid. I only played with the Super Nintendo, no shoes.
Oh, no shoes.
He was
shoes.
shoeless.
I was shoeless.
in his dirt floor house.
So this place called Video Synthesis, which was a rental store in town, who you didn't realize rented games, but if you asked them, they actually had a Super Famicom.
Really?
Like a year before SNES came out, and no one really knew it. I think I was just like reading Nintendo Power, and he's like, hey, we actually have this. It's all in Japanese, but you can play it. So I played, what was the Mario game?
Super Mario World?
Yeah.
Super Mario World. I played Super Mario World in Japanese.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Bob.
And that's okay. You don't have to read Japanese to understand that game. Just jump on things
Yeah,
and go
it
right.
was very funny because you'd go to those little like speaker box things, and they would have, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Keep going. Yeah.
I grew up. I had an NES as a kid, but I grew up with a Sega. I didn't get an SNES till almost the end of
The
its
Sega
life.
Master System.
No, a Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Just a Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had Sonic. I had the Jurassic Park game, which was amazing because on the
Oh,
Genesis
cool.
you could play as the Velociraptor.
It controlled poorly, though.
It did, but you could eat people, and that was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So-
that's all. You don't need to control it.
Yeah, who cares?
Very
Just
well
wanna
if you can eat
people's
everything.
faces.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I guess how did this game come about? Like, was this your idea? Did you get kind of approached more about it?
That's a good question. I don't know how any of these Bub projects come to fruition.
They just kind of happen?
Well, there's sort of her, it really is, she's like a muse. It's sort of her like energy that sparks our creativity. And by our, I mean me and my buddies and everyone who's sort of involved. And like the team behind Bub grows as we do more stuff. And we do, I have a strict rule that I had from the beginning over 4 years ago when she got famous that I don't seek out opportunities. I'm never going to like try to do stuff like reach out to people like, hey, or when it's a very organic thing. So it just happened through all our stuff and people reaching out to us. There was a company called Snapper, and they first reached out to us about doing a Bub like video or a Bub like photo editing app, and it's called The Power of Bub is the app we created. And I agreed to work with them because they were huge fans of Bub, and the app was really cool. And it's basically you can Bubify your photos. And then it evolved into the Lil BUB app, which is the same thing just with more options. And then I was like, hey, do you guys? I think it'd be super cool to do a video game. And Ed, who is on our team, was like, he's from New Zealand. I'm going to try and imitate him, but I don't know if I can do we can do that. I can't do it very well. But
I was really hoping for the Kiwi accent.
We really strive for
it's
terrible impersonations.
Oh, good. You thought it was terrible?
Yeah. Well,
this
kind of,
Oh,
it wasn't the greatest.
Words. I mean, what a gracious host he is.
Well, where are you going? You really like
right into
Kyle.
that.
It's okay,
Yeah.
Bub. I'll pet on you.
She's usually not this.
Friendly?
No, she's very friendly, but she's usually. Oh, she's trying to get her ears itched.
I'm not going to do that again.
Here. She wants to get on your lap.
Okay, I'll hold you, Bub.
See, this is when we need that
let her-
handheld
there
cam.
you
Get
go.
in here Michael Mann style. Just real
Like my
close
hair,
and
Bub?
Yep. If you put your hand there, she'll either. Yep. She's getting cozy to you.
Good.
That's great.
All right.
Congratulations.
The Bub Whisperer 2.0.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
Snapper,
Snapper,
yeah.
and then it was sort of, and then on the other end there was this guy Drew who designed shirts for this company called the Yeti, which you guys,
the ET.
Yeah.
I actually have one of their T-shirts.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was really stoked about that because I was like, oh, this dude, I have one of these shirts.
Oh yeah, so
the
when they first came around, I think we were one of their first licenses, and they just reached out. Like one of their designers was a big Bub fan. They're like, "Hey, do you want to do a Bub shirt?" I was like, "Sure." And then the second Bub shirt was by Drew Wise, and it was a super little Bub T-shirt. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like an NES cartridge with Bub and her spaceship. Mm-hmm. And he just designed it, and that's how I met him. And I was like, "Dude, I love this. I'm a huge NES fan." And then people really liked it, and that just made me think, dude, wouldn't it be awesome if there was an actual like NES style Bub game? And this was like maybe it was almost 4 years ago that shirt was designed. And then it just sort of progressed, and I talked to Ed, and I was like, let's do this. And I don't even remember how it all started but I was like, hey, you should meet Drew. And Drew had always wanted, he's like a pixel artist, and I think he's pretty well known.
Yeah.
And he's always wanted to like actually design and animate a video game. Man, she really likes you. Listen to her. Go.
Oh, she's a good girl.
That's good.
Oh, Bob. We're buddies.
She's very happy right now.
I like that. That's a good sound.
Yeah. And so that's how the game kind of came about. And we didn't know how to do it. It's a crazy amount of work, anyone who's developed a game.
Yeah.
And actually, we have a very small development team compared to most games, especially for what we're trying to do, which is the idea is for it to be not just like a Flappy Bird, but to be like a really in-depth, a game that you would expect to an A plus game on a Super Nintendo or something, and it's going to be pretty in-depth and all this stuff. So, and the goal for the Kickstarter is to make it a free mobile game, and if we can get beyond our minimum goal and reach our stretch goals, we are hoping to make it available for a desktop PC and Wii U.
Good.
That's what I was.
That was a question that him and I both had because it does work, and I was actually very surprised by the play style on a mobile phone because generally a platformer, it's not going to work very well. But I I can tell there has been a lot of work done to that. It's still not as precise as I would like,
Right.
but it does work very well. But I think this game would benefit a lot on another platform like a PC, and I think it would do very well on the Steam store and the Wii U store. I think that's amazing.
We're looking into it, and I'm sort of the idea man, and sort of like I want a grappling arm, and I want her to shoot lasers out of her
I wanted
face.
to have dreadlocks.
So
And,
Little Bub grappling arm confirmed.
It's in the demo.
Okay.
So yeah, you definitely
Was
got.
it in the demo?
It's in the spaceship. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
that comes
yeah.
out, the
Yes.
spaceship at the
So
bottom, okay.
and like all that stuff, and then I'm the guy that figures out how you're gonna have to use it and make the game challenging and all that stuff. But I don't understand like the coding and like
Of course, yeah.
and that's what we're learning too. Is like when I'm like, hey, I want it so that the boss you have to like get her bloodshot, and then you have to use the yogurt to freeze her, and then you have to use the super beam to destroy her. You know, stuff like that. I was like, that's how you have to beat it. And they're like, oh man, okay, we'll try and
make
figure
work.
it
I
out.
really liked actually the boss, the raccoon that I faced.
Yeah.
That really reminded me of Rescue Rangers on the NES. I don't know if you ever played
I don't
that.
know if I remember that game. No.
But that reminded me a lot of that.
I was gonna say when we were talking earlier about kind of the influence you're going with, like I definitely got like the old NES Capcom vibe.
Yeah,
it felt
yeah.
like the at least the side scrolling, like the forest level, felt a lot like Little Nemo.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that you have
Precisely.
like 8 different parts that you have to get, it's like that's Mega Man. That's clearly Mega Man.
It's very Mega Man influenced. Yep.
I really like too. Sorry, I just cut you off totally. But I really
Well,
like
that's all right.
in the forest level that there's not. I mean, there's so many different things to explore in it. It's not A to B, jump over these things like an early
Yeah.
level Mario. There's a lot of things you can see in that first forest level.
And we're
So-
trying to make it even more so. So it's definitely up and down, left,
Yeah.
and you go back and forth. And there we have this huge list of things to add. So we just added crouch and crawl. But the idea too is that when you crouch and you hold the down button, you get to look down and see what. So the whole thing shifts
Yeah.
down, so you
Okay,
can see
yeah.
what's below you. And
Yeah.
then when you do up, she's going to look up, and you can see what's up. Which that way we can put Easter eggs and like hidden things. And like you see it, like if you look up and you see a ledge, like right at the edge of the frame, and you're like, how do I get to that? And then you find out that if she has a tongue that
Yeah.
grabs stuff. If you grab a Luna moth, it gives you flying abilities for 5 seconds, and then you can fly up
Okay.
and get to like a special spot. So that's the kind of thing that we're really looking forward to working into the game if we get funded, and really make it like over the top.
Yeah.
Hot air balloon rides, like crazy shit. And that, like I said, that's my job to come up with these crazy ideas, and then they get stressed out and then figure it out, and then it's awesome.
What they got to do. It reminds me also very much of one of my favorite genres of game, and Ryan knows this, the Metroidvania, where like,
A little bit,
so you see something, but you don't know how to get there, but maybe there's something that you get later,
And you come back.
and you come back, and you can get to that point later. I love that type.
It's my favorite. Yeah. Dude, Metroid. I would say Metroid is probably, and that's a game, the first Metroid, that I think, as far as like mood,
Oh,
it's like
that's-
super. I
Yeah,
was
that
terrified.
sets the tone,
I had
for real.
nightmares as a
Yeah.
child playing. The first time I saw like that creepy, like hair, like featherless bird holding the orb.
Ridley.
Yes.
Nice
Dude.
call.
Dude, yeah, Metroid, right on.
Yeah.
Best NES music, I think, by far.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
it's killer.
So creepy and cold.
Speaking
and,
of music, I would like to give a call out to the music in this game
Yeah.
because
yes,
it is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I know it's all developed by Matt Toby.
Yep.
I want to. Do you have any input on that, or do you just let him kind of run free?
Well, background to Matt Toby and I, as our relationship goes very far back. I first recorded his band Good Luck years ago, and that's when we became buddies. And then we started a band called Memory Map together, where we made music that was almost like similar to like video game style music, but with guitars. And he's always been very like his musical influence is the NES, and he's always wanted to make video game music. And then I asked him to make music for Bub videos like years ago, because I just needed background music, and he owed me money, and I said, how about you just work it off by making me some music? And people fell in love with these songs, and so did I. And he just, he didn't think about them too much, and he just spewed them out. He's like, oh, I really love doing this. And then we turned those like songs into an album, and that's the Lil BUB record. So then we came into the studio, and actually I produced it, and we recorded it with real instruments, and I think it's super cool.
So is that the Bub band?
And the Lil BUB band then learned those songs and performed them live. We did 3 shows. Yeah.
Oh,
And then,
I didn't even know about that.
yeah, that was crazy. We worked super hard to play these 3 shows, and then that was it. And so then, of course, for this game, I said, hey, Matt, there's an opportunity to write video game music. And so that's how it came about. And as far as I basically am like, hey, for this, we need some boss music, or we need level music. And then he plays the demo and figures out kind of what inspires him. Yeah. And the music's one of my favorite parts, and one of the rewards.
It's really, really well done.
It's and so like the first stretch goal is called the Bub's extended music collection, I think. And if we reach the first stretch goal, Matt will make a ton more, because he can just really knock these songs out. A ton more songs, and then you find cassette tapes hidden throughout the game, and there's a tape player, and you can choose which songs you listen to for each level. And I'm hoping we can do up to like 30 or 40 songs, and you have to work really hard to find these tapes.
That'd be really cool.
And we have a new reward tier coming up where you can, I don't think we've added it yet, but I think it's the next one I'm going to announce. It'll be around $2,000, but you can choose a song of your choice to be covered as in 8-bit by Matt, and then it's in the game. And then you get a code that lets you download that song for your version of the game.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of chiptune music in general. So I mean, it really that's 2 of the things that I really noticed playing the demo is that, especially musically and visually, there is a love here. It's not just like, let's phone it in, let's just do this.
It's no Flappy Bird.
Yeah, it is no Flappy Bird.
Well, that's what we're really trying, and that's what I do with every Bub project. Like, same with the record. Like, people are like, oh, a record by a famous cat. And that was like sort of the whole idea behind the record, is that this is going to be a really good record. And not what people are expecting. And then they listen to it and they're like, oh man, these dudes worked really hard on this album, and it's actually pretty good. And the same thing here. It's not just, I mean, everything that I do with Bub has to be worthy of her presence, and her sort of magic. So that's what we're trying to do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the record, the main single is Gravity?
New Gravity.
New Gravity.
Because she just landed on Earth, so she has a new gravity to get used to.
I really enjoy this whole Bub as an alien aspect. I as a nerdy guy, I've always been enraptured by space anyway, so it fits so well, and it's such a fun explanation for Bub and what she does, and it works so well in a video game too. Like, it all is transferred amazingly.
I mean, it allows you to do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah.
Like, it opens up
she
so
shoots
much.
lasers out of her eyes because she's a fucking alien. I mean, what
well,
do
and
you
that's
want?
that's been one of the ongoing jokes with Bub from the beginning when things started taking off. It was like I made up the notion that she's literally capable of anything. And when people are like, what are some of her special powers, and then I list them, and it's telepathy, telekinesis, time travel, space travel, teleportation, clairvoyance. There's like absolutely nothing she can't do, and that leaves you with like endless possibilities for creativity.
So she's almost like Golden Age Superman, where the powers just keep coming. Well,
but she doesn't have any kryptonite.
I mean, the weakest character.
of course not. No.
Come on. No, I mean, all right, sorry. Bring up Superman. He's.
I'm a big Superman fanboy.
He's just like a boring white dude with a shitty haircut.
It's just like, it's a kid on a playground. Like, well, my superhero can do this. That's Superman. That's ridiculous.
I mean, especially Golden Age.
Well,
Superman,
his name is Superman. Like,
come on.
Can you get any less creative than that?
Captain America.
Very good, man.
It's pretty uncreative. So I was going to ask about the powers you're talking about that Lil BUB has. Will we be seeing any of that in the video game aside from like the lasers? But you're talking about like time travel. Like, that's fascinating. Will we see that?
Well, there's our idea for some bonus levels.
Okay, nice.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
Will we see Lil BUB take on Hitler? I'm just saying.
Speaking of Bionic Commando, did you ever beat Bionic Commando? Because a lot of people never got to the end. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's tied in.
They put Hitler in this game.
Yeah, very similar to Wolfenstein, although in Wolfenstein he's wearing Is he in a mech suit, or has he just got 2 chain guns?
I think it's just 2 chain guns.
Okay.
Like in
He's
Bionic Commando, he's in the full-on mech suit.
That's what it is. I'm
Yeah.
getting...
So there you go. There's your idea. Just completely wholesale rip off Bionic Commando
Yeah.
for
See,
one level,
It's
and
not
there
a
you
rip-off.
go.
It's a love letter to
There you go.
Bionic Commando.
Well, one thing that is on my list, and I didn't have the time to do the research to see if it's even possible, but I want it to be a stretch goal, is license Super Mario Brothers and be able to play Super Mario Brothers as the Bub sprite, but also with
Damn.
her laser eyes and her tongue, and so you could grab all the things. And
I'm sure there's a way to do that.
Well, I know...
I don't
With
know.
Creative Commons. I mean, there's so
Yeah,
you
for a
see,
couple
like,
$1,000,000, I'd be like, okay.
Well, you see like all the rip off, like the Japanese like hard Mario games, like that are not Mario. Like the I Want to Be the Guy. That's essentially Mario, but like super hard. Like, and they sell for money. I'm sure there's a way.
There
to
is
do
also
it.
the Super Mario Maker where you can have
Right.
just
Yeah.
different skins, but play the
yeah.
game. So I mean,
Well, I might reach out to them, or I'm sure they listen to this podcast.
I'm sure they do.
obsessively.
Nintendo is a giant
over
fan
and
of us.
over.
Yes. Miyamoto, you're Miyamo bro.
Oh,
I'm so
God.
sorry. That was really bad. I don't know why I even did
It
that.
wasn't bad. I thought
That's
I really
it.
liked
That's
that joke.
the end of the show. Just the series as a whole.
So like you said you're more the idea guy. Like how involved are you in development of the game?
Well, depends on what you mean by development. As far as like, I came up with the entire story, the concept, sort of, and like I said, I'm the guy that's like, okay, so Bub's gonna have lasers shoot out of her eye, and then when you hold the button, it powers up her laser, and if you hold it long enough, there's a power, like all the game mechanics.
Very Mega Man-esque. Too.
Yeah, very all the game mechanics. Oh, and I wanted to say this earlier. It's even more Mega Man-esque in that. So all the pieces of her space pod are missing.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that these baby raccoons take the remaining 7 and run off with them, and they sell them off on the black market to different crazy animals all over the world. And then you have to go find them. And then each boss, whether it's the bird of paradise, if you don't know what that bird is, you should look it up. It's intense.
Yeah, he's really cool looking.
Yeah. And all kinds of, a polar bear, but they each have one of the missing space pod pieces, and they use that piece against you, just like the raccoon holds up the battery and zaps you. The polar bear may have the invisibility cloak and becomes invisible and reappears.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And so you have to defeat, just like in Mega Man, and then once you get that piece, you get to put it back on your space pod and use that piece on the next shooter level.
I think you are saying all the right things, because as I was playing the demo, I was like, I really hope it's like Mega Man, that you get to go in any order and then you get to use what you do. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And what I think is clever, and I don't think anyone else sees it because they haven't played the game yet, is that the first shooter level, you have all the parts of your space pod. So the space pod is as powerful as possible.
Okay.
And then once the game gets funded and you get to your first shooter, you no longer have all these powers anymore, and it becomes really hard to play. And then you're like, oh, I can't wait to get these pieces.
awesome.
So I
mean, it's God of War 2 does that. You start off as the most powerful, and then you get struck down, and
cool.
you have to build yourself back up. So that's great. And I was going to actually ask about the difficulty of this game. As I was playing through it, it was just the right kind of difficulty.
Oh, good.
But like you talk about your NES and SNES kind of influences. Is it going to get NES hard later on, or is this going to be kind of aimed for the mainstreams where it's like it's accessible and we're going to try to get everybody?
So I have a question. NES hard? Is NES typically considered hard?
There is a general classification called Nintendo hard, where
Yeah.
especially in old NES games, they are notorious for being incredibly difficult. Like
And that must be why I keep pushing. So it's interesting you asked this, because I'm always pushing like, okay, well, everything works. It's pretty easy. Now we have to add the challenges. And that's like my idea for like the boss is that right now you have yogurt, you got the arm, and they don't really do anything. Like they're there and you kind of use them, but the end game is that they're critical to the gameplay. And the yogurt you have to use to freeze the boss, and the only way to beat the boss is to freeze her when she's stunned, and then you have to use the power blast to explode her. Otherwise, you cannot beat the boss. So really tricky. Metal Gear. I couldn't figure out the very end of
the
Metal Gear. We have to go on the
NES one?
side
Oh,
and
yeah.
fucking put that plastic explosive in the side of the door to blow up the mega computer or whatever.
Yeah.
I sound like the biggest dork, but I
Hey,
guess it's the right
that's-
place.
that's
to sound
our
like a dork.
podcast,
Yeah,
bro.
we do
It's
that
good.
every week.
It's
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't. I think I had to read Nintendo Power to figure that one out.
A lot of
I'm
people
sorry
did.
to admit that, but
Hey, man.
But how are you supposed to
NES Metal
fucking
Gears
know?
are ridiculous. Well, that's all
Well,
NES
again,
games.
that's
Like you
NES
don't know,
games,
but you
like-
hear it through
Through
the
the grapevine.
nerd kid grapevine. Yeah.
Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the
that game
NES
is hard.
is
That's
so
the hardest.
fucking hard. And
Battletoads.
that's Nintendo hard. That's
So
another
hard.
one, dude.
doable alone, 2 people, impossible.
Yeah, it gets way harder with 2 people, which is rare because usually co-op is easier. But
Double Dragon,
Double Dragon,
dude,
yeah.
that game. So many glitches. Like your guy's like invisible, like half translucent through most of the game. But
There's a really good sequel that they just released for Double Dragon called
Really?
Double Dragon Neon. That's on
Oh, it's
Steam.
amazing.
It is really well done.
Oh, really?
It's
if you're
one of
into
my
Double
favorite
Dragon,
games from the last generation.
it is so choice. I mean,
I have a
hits all
hard
the
time with
notes.
new games, man. Like
It's still It's Double Dragon,
Oh, really?
just with a nice fresh coat of paint.
I'd
that's
like
cool.
to talk about that. Why is that? Why do you think?
so, I transitioned from NES to role playing games. That's where like
Okay,
I was
awesome.
obsessed. And
Role playing like video games or like the D&D
video
board
games,
game
not
stuff?
board
Okay.
games. I would like board games, but I never got into them. But the game that basically, and I guess interesting we didn't talk about it earlier, but the game that changed my life and sort of is like my favorite game I've ever played, and I don't know if a lot of people know it, but I know it's a cult classic to some, is called Betrayal at Krondor.
No,
not
I'm
know
not
this.
familiar with
No.
that.
It's like a
yeah.
early mid 90s PC only role playing game,
Okay.
and it was like, dude, it completely consumed my life. Like that's all I could think about, and I
Really?
just
This
like
is crazy.
listened to 90s radio and played this game nonstop. And I came out with a sequel called Betrayal at Antara, and that was purchased by Sierra Games. You remember Sierra?
I know
They
they
Yeah,
did all
did
that.
all that.
yeah.
So Betrayal at Krondor was pre-Sierra. Sierra bought it and did Betrayal at Antara, and it kind of sucked. But anyways, you can still, it's such a big cult classic that you can still download like a package that makes it work on your PC still.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So you can find it. It's pretty obscure and hard to find, but there's people that.
We're gonna try.
Yeah,
this
I wrote
out
it down. Yeah, I'm gonna.
We might actually play this and then have you back
Oh,
on to
dude,
talk
you
about
almost
this.
killed the Andre.
Dude, Andre
We
goes fast.
always kill it. That's the thing.
sorry.
It's not good at first, but
But
it
then, yeah.
disappears
Yeah, it turns
really
into-
quickly.
Definitely helps the podcast
Yeah.
move along.
I'm sure Andre loves to hear that.
But I don't. So, hey, Andre. So where were we going with this?
Betrayal of Krondor and
your,
games
Oh,
your
what I don't-
games
yeah.
and why not modern games?
So then, I saw all these gaming systems get cooler, and I was like, dude, games have got to be insane by now. Like 15 years have gone by. And I got an Xbox 360. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I have. And I bought a few games, and one of the last role-playing games I played on PC was actually, I think, called Dragon Quest, which eventually,
Dragon Quest or Dragon Age?
whatever it is, it's the one that evolved into the very famous, very popular, fuck.
Dragon Quest is a big Enix thing where the main.
It's very Japanese.
Yeah, it's very
And then
cartoony.
Dragon
and
Age.
fights
No, it's
slime.
not that.
Okay, Dragon
It's-
Age.
Dragon Age.
Is it the one where you can be anyone? It turned into, what's that game? Elder Scrolls. It's the very first of the Elder
Skyrim
Scrolls.
or not?
It turned into Skyrim, but it's the
Okay.
very, very, very first one.
Okay.
It's like in the 90s, it was a PC game, and
Yeah,
it was
there's
like
Morrowind, and then even before Morrowind, it was Daggerfall.
Daggerfall.
Yeah.
That's what it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
Good pull.
So
I
I
was
had
gonna come to
I had
that.
Daggerfall,
That was
and
very
so
good.
then Skyrim came out, and I was like, dude, this has got to be incredible. And then I was like, this, just to learn this game and get used to it and figure it out and get into it, it's going to take 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to do this anymore. And honestly, to me, the stories are like slightly contrived, or not that they're not as gripping as they used to be, and maybe there isn't enough left to the imagination like there was back in the day. And it also could be that my imagination itself isn't as
No. I agree with you
A
wholly.
lot of people agree with you. I mean, generally, now that those types of games are made by Bethesda, they're still sandboxy, but they're just something about the charm just isn't there that you have from like the Daggerfall and the Morrowind.
Well, they have all those. They hire actors to say all the stuff, and they're like,
Yeah.
"It sounds so cheesy," and I'm like, "I can't get into this. I can't."
Yeah, Patrick Stewart was in one of the Elder Scrolls
Oh, really?
games recently, but yeah, you are exactly right. I think because you had to use your imagination, you got to put a lot of yourself into those games when
Right.
you don't hear voice acting and you don't get you see like an 8-bit sprite, and you kind of have to make that up in your imagination what it actually looks like as
Right.
opposed to how they just render it now.
Right. Well, it seems like a lot of the time was spent reading shit. And if it was like interesting to read, that'd be one thing. But I was like, Skyrim especially, it's like, oh, this person lost his dog, and then he fucking
He took an arrow to the knee. That's
yeah,
how
it's
every.
like, and I realized like it's like all these stupid missions that don't really.
It's all padding. It's like, who cares?
It's all padding, and it's like,
I
oh,
lost
but you
my
can do
bread
whatever you
loaf.
want. And I was like, but I don't want to do anything in this fake world you made up for me. Seriously, it's not that bad, but you know what I mean, though.
No, I agree.
It felt
I'm not a fan
aimless,
of
and then
those,
some other games feel like they're too guided, and it's like you're just playing a movie that's not very good. That's exactly how I felt. I had some game where it's like it tells you everything to do. You go, you play for like 5 minutes, and then it's like 10 minutes of like story.
Cutscene,
all
The,
that.
the hand holding is a big problem I have with
It is.
current gen gaming, where I get what they're trying to do to make it more accessible to everybody, but at the same time, you're really turning off the people that are there to enjoy it. Like, it's a really fine line you got to skate
It's
to
interesting.
bring in new people, but keep the current fans or just video game fans in general.
Well, I think
happy.
that's maybe a challenge that we're having with Hello Earth, is that I think visually it's accessible, but I think it might not be accessible, especially to a lot of Bub fans who aren't necessarily video gamers. And they're like, oh, a video game they play, and they're like, I just keep killing Bub. And no one wants to kill Bub,
No,
you know?
no.
So, and I'm trying to appeal to like true gamers who are really into like, and it's hard. I think it's hard to reach that demographic because I think a lot of true gamers are probably like, oh, Little Bub's got a game, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't
That's
know.
a very interesting quandary.
It is.
It is like, who is your audience at that point then? Because
It's
the
so-
hardcore gamers might just brush it off like, oh, look at that casual iPhone game. Like, I'm not going to play that.
Yeah.
And then the iPhone people, you don't want to make it too hard for the casual people.
Right.
That's rough.
Yeah, it is. And if you notice, like, we have our average pledge levels very high, and these are like super Bub fans who are going to support Bub no matter what she does at a very high level to get like the cool collector's pins and all that stuff, which is great. I mean, that's why we have that, is to have people excited about the stuff and really participate. You got to pee. Oh, yeah. Perfect segue.
look at
this. Good segue to get these Kickstarter.
Yeah, so that's the pillow pledge, and we had the company make us some prototypes. Do the back of the head, because that's my favorite.
It's still got the tongue hanging down.
Yeah,
I love
see?
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very nice.
And they're very comfortable, amazingly soft pillows. I'm not
They
trying
really
to
are.
sell them, but they
No.
are handmade in Chicago. They're I'm really stoked on those. And so all the stuff we're making is like super high quality.
It really is. It's not cheaping out.
I think like a lot of Kickstarters just do like free goodies, and what we're doing is like actually really nice handmade sort of stuff.
Well, I
So-
know a lot of problems with, I don't want to say a lot of Kickstarters, but it's the delivery on what's promised. But, you know, I know you through a lot of other people, and I know that you, as Bubs do not half-ass anything.
That's true.
What you say is going to happen, you're going to fucking make happen. You're not going to squander. You're not going to squelch. So I feel very, very true that what you promise on this game is going to come to fruition. And so I don't have any qualms or quandaries with that.
So right now, please give us some promises that you can't back up from.
I can promise that Kyle will use a lot of words that start with Q.
Yeah, I do. It's really
It's like
weird.
you're a Q man.
Yeah.
I spell my name Qyle.
Yeah, I do. I'm
gonna
going to
hold
from
her
this
just
point.
because
Yeah.
we need her in this podcast.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's gonna be pissed because
She was really into me.
I will admit that it's not very often that she really gravitates towards another person like that. But I do think she's been a little sour at me for like the past, actually since I had a kid.
Yeah.
Like sort of like, seriously, bro, what's going on here?
Yeah.
'Cause, but we're still good pals. See,
Bub is the absolute best.
she is.
So I wonder, like, when did you really start to realize that Bub was having the effect on the internet that she does? Like, when did this start to really...
Way before she was famous.
Yeah?
It's I truly believe her fame is absolutely inevitable. It's not like I really didn't try.
No, I definitely... Yeah, I know you did.
And I mean,
like,
based the way I reacted the first time I saw a photo of her, which was like, does this thing actually exist? Before meeting her, just from a photo, is exactly how everyone responds to her when they see her. But not everyone, the right kind of people. I think it's really people that have an open mind and an open heart to science and magic. It's really, she has an unmistakable energy and an unmistakable sort of power that I think reaches very far and deep. And some people really don't get it. And to me, that's just a plain like judge of character. And she really, if she doesn't like someone, she lets it be known. And if she really likes someone, she lets it be known. And I've seen her straight up, someone touch her and she just hisses and swats at them, which is very rare. And then I'm like, dude, that person has to get very far away because there's something wrong with that person. And it's like, it's not even, it's just like this very strict litmus test. So, although sometimes if you smell like another cat, she might hiss at you.
Okay.
So I guess it's not that strict.
So like, that's another, like, in the hierarchy of Bub, because you also have other cats. Like, how do they interact with Bub?
So the cats here, they know her fairly well from her. She comes here a lot. A lot of the videos we shoot are here. The calendar shoots happen here. And so they actually have a pretty good, healthy relationship over time. But she lives with another cat, Spooky, who's her brother, who's also
In the game.
Yeah. And Spooky and her actually really don't get along. He's a Russian blue, and he thinks she's like the ultimate toy, and he really pounces on her. And she hisses and screams at him but it's funny. It's like The Odd Couple. Man, she really.
You want to come back?
So she's the Felix. Is Scary the Oscar?
Spooky?
Yeah.
Spooky.
Scary.
Why did I
That's
say
a good
Scary?
name.
Scary
I think his
Spice,
name
I'm
should be
sorry.
Scary too.
Spooky.
Hi.
Not gonna pet your ears.
Yeah, and then we have a dog, and she gets along better with Trudy, but Trudy's like a big clumsy pit bull.
As all dogs are.
Yeah, and Bub gets like real freaked out around Trudy sometimes. But she mainly likes people. Oh.
Scratch it.
So she does well with generally all people. She's a very people-pleasing cat.
Dude, this is crazy.
It's okay,
Be
Bub.
very careful with her, though.
I
She
will.
can't, yeah.
I understand that Bub is a very fragile.
Yeah, man,
amazing
she loves
creature.
you. This is great.
So one of the things that I really respect that you do with Bub, you do a lot of charity work with Bub.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's the focus of our...
Of Bub, yeah.
Yeah.
What, if anything, is like one that really kind of just, I don't know, stands out to you, something that's really special to you that you've done charity-wise with Bub?
Sure. Well, we it's hard to concentrate, when she's around. We do we raise a lot of money for special needs pets. We started the first national fund for special needs pets called Lil BUB's Big Fund, and it's a partnership with the ASPCA. So, and through that, we raise money, and all the money gets turned into grants, and then shelters from all over the country apply for these grants for special needs pets programs or for specific cases. And honestly, the list is so long of specific cats that we've helped with the fund and through our fundraising. One, very early on, I would do fundraisers for personal reasons, like if someone said, hey, my cat needs surgery. We can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We have to focus our money and our efforts on homeless pets, and we have to also be very strict and tell people that, if you're going to take on a pet, you need to be able to provide for your pet. And it's not that I don't want to help, I do, but it's just not fair, and it's,
Yeah.
But we did early on help out a very special case. This cat had a kidney disease, and they had just developed the first kidney replacement surgery for cats.
Wow.
And they'd only done 2 ever, and I helped this lady raise, I think it was $15,000 to do a kidney replacement for a cat. And it was successful, and it was very heartwarming, to know that we were able to do that. There was also a shelter that caught fire mid-Hudson Animal Aid in upstate New York, and they caught fire, and it was a huge disaster, and we were able to raise $10,000 in a day for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And since then, to date, I think we're almost at $500,000 raised. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, all of our appearances, we basically, it's evolved, and as I learn more about it and how to do it right, but all of our appearances are ticketed, and tickets range from $100 to $150 to meet Bub, and we make it special, and we do like a custom art print and all this stuff. And then all the proceeds usually get split between Bub's fund and the charity hosting us. So close to half of the money we've raised is just from appearances.
But it's amazing that such a little.
That's all right. I think she might need to pee now.
Okay, we can do that.
Hey, Bub, you want to pee?
So now that we've all had our nice little bathroom break, Bub started that little trend, but I think it all helped us all
She
out.
did have to pee.
Could have just edited that out, but let's make it known we all had to go pee.
I like to just lay it all bare. Do you have
I so
anything
disagree
else?
with that.
Do you have anything else for you, Ryan?
I mean, do you want me to read one of the questions?
You can. I didn't know if you had anything other that you had.
Yeah, I don't know. I might skip and just talk afterwards.
Okay. So, I mean, the only thing we really have left is we got a couple of community questions from some of the fans that are also Bub fans that had some questions that they've always kind of wondered. And so the first one is, and I think I can already answer this one, but is Bub as cuddly as she seems, or does she prefer her space?
She's definitely, she really likes to cuddle and get cozy, especially with people she likes. As you can tell, she's really into you. Like I said earlier, we've kind of had this sort of, we have our moments, but she's kind of been grumpy with me lately. But man, she loves my wife,
Really?
Stacy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, she's like all over her. But yeah, Bub's a very sweet cat, and always has been.
She is a very sweet cat. I was actually really surprised by that. I didn't know, I've never actually met Bub, so I didn't know how this was going to go, how she would work out with me. But I feel kind of prideful that she liked me so much.
Oh, you should, man.
So.
Pretty big deal.
Really,
I actually didn't like you before this. Now I think
Bub
you're a
has
great
turned it
guy.
on. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, he is a great guy, huh?
All right. Hey, thanks, Bub. I guess our only other really community question is, and I think I already asked this one earlier, but how is Bub with her sibling kitties? Is she kind of a boss, or does she get picked on?
Well, it's funny because she thinks she's the boss, but she definitely gets picked on. And she acts like she's real tough, but she has no teeth and is very small, and it's pretty endearing.
Yeah. There's a lot of fight in that cat, though, huh?
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it fight. It's more like sass.
Mm-hmm.
And sass and then run. But it's been good for her because I think it's helped her mobility, sort of. She's had issues with mobility her whole life, and Spooky really, it's like that basic instinct to fight or flee, and for her, fleeing is really good for her muscles and bones. So
keeps her fit and young.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, we only had 2 community questions. It's not a community.
You guys have such a small community.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really the people that were like, yeah, I would like to know this about Bub. So.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's like, it's pretty niche,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People that follow your podcast and happen to be fans of Bub.
And so that's my wife. My wife is like the biggest Little Bub fan, and she thinks
cool.
now our podcast is good.
It's cool. Oh,
now
dude, so
she's into it.
You guys are like, we
Now
have to
she's
get Bub
into
on
it.
this podcast, or else they're not going to let us do it
Yeah.
anymore.
I tell you, when I've told some people that we were interviewing Little Bub, I've met like 5 of the biggest Little Bub fans. They all were sure that they were the biggest Little Bub fan.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I get that message all the time. I'm the biggest fan. It's like, well, technically, I'm the biggest fan.
I would think so. But what about you? You got anything else here, Ryan?
I mean, all right, so
He's got this burning
you're
question.
pushing, but
I want just
all right.
to
So
know.
I want to go back to the game because
Yeah.
this is like where my mind goes to is like this Little Bub game. I'm like very
Right.
interested in it. Arch enemy, because like every hero has like their arch enemy, like Mega Man, Dr. Wily, Bionic Commando, Hitler. Like,
Well, that's
who would Little Bub's arch enemy be?
Well, it's part of the stinger. It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Okay.
The whole thing is figured out. There's a big twist and then another one at the end.
It
Okay.
sounds like from what you talked about with Little Bub in reality, it might be spooky.
Well, it could. I mean,
It might be spooky.
that might be the obvious choice, and that might happen in a way. But
No.
there's definitely bigger twists than that.
I like that. I really like the idea that it's like a love letter to sort of the Mega Man genre, where because she's going to different places in the world, I've only played the first level, but I'm imagining there's going to be different locales and locations.
Absolutely. Oh,
And
yeah.
So like,
and they're going to be pretty heavy-handed.
okay.
That's, I mean,
Not like, another version of the forest level, but with different colors, like straight up. And, Mario does that a lot, but we want to have like a underwater level. You know how
Okay.
Mario just has like water levels? This will be way more specific. Like you're in this part of the world, you're in this part of the world. And I think what people might not realize is it alternates shooter and platformer.
Okay.
So the idea is that you get the battery to the space pod at the end of the first platformer, and that powers her ship up, but she doesn't have any of the other pieces. So all the ship can pretty much do is get her from point A to point B. So when, like, let's say you're going to the Amazon jungle to retrieve the atmospheric thruster or whatever, you have to fly there. So it's a shooter level through the sky,
okay.
but so it'll be on Earth, and there'll be different. And each shooter level will be unique, and then each platformer level will be unique.
That sounds like a hell of an endeavor.
It is,
So-
yeah, for sure.
So for that, I would like to give a special call out to your designer, who is Drew Wise, correct?
yeah.
He's taken control of all of the pixel work. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
I mean he's the artist. He, although I come up with the ideas, he's the guy. He's the guy that came up with the look and every single part of the level he's designed and drawn and animated. And I truly believe he's a pixel wizard.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It is very, very true, and it hits that nostalgia switch when you're playing.
It does,
for sure.
and there's also like sort of a notch up. I feel like the graphics are like, and the style is very sharp, sort of, but still staying true to the pixel. Like Mega Man to me is that way too. Like has like a very slick sort of look to it, and a very, I don't know, and that's what I like about it. I appreciate all the subtle animations where she walks and her eyes look left and then right.
Yeah.
And there's more coming up. Like when you get too close to a ledge, she's going to get up on her paws. Like it's going to be pretty well thought out as far as like, and if you stand in one place long enough,
Say
she'll
idle
curl up and take a
animations,
nap.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, very much like Sonic. Like how
Oh,
it's-
I don't even remember.
Well, if you stand around too long, he like starts tapping his foot and he starts
really?
looking
He
at
gets
you like, "What are you
sassy,
doing?"
yeah.
Yeah.
He gets a little sassy too, which I guess Bubba's very sassy.
She's
so.
sassy. Yeah.
I mean, so from this point, I think we really need to just tell people to go support the Kickstarter if you're at all interested in old school retro games. If you're interested in Little Bub, and the Kickstarter is located at
littlebub.com/game.
And if you would like to look right here, our audio and video engineers will put that link right here above Bub. And you can click it right here and go
Now you
to
guys
that.
have to do it.
They
as
have
he
to do
said
it. That's what we do.
Well,
So-
no, we just say they have to do it, and then it doesn't happen.
doesn't
No,
happen.
it'll
It'll
happen.
We'll put it right here, and we'll link to it. And it is the Kickstarter. I think last I checked, you're about halfway through.
Little pass, we're at 52,500 out of 100,000. One thing I want to point out is all this stuff we talked about will never happen unless you guys support this Kickstarter.
Yeah, you really got to.
And this isn't one of those like, oh, they're still going to do it. We're not going to do it unless this gets funded.
It has to.
I think one of the challenges we're having, to some people, 100,000 is a lot for a mobile game. It's not. I mean, it could live anywhere realistically. The idea is that we want it to be free for everyone and ad free, and the best place and accessible to everyone. And the best place to do that is mobile. If we reach our stretch goals, we're going to have it. And ideally, I'd love to see it. We're going to have gamepad control for your phone.
There you go.
That'd be great.
So,
There you go. So fund this.
I will also
Support.
say, as you're speaking, like, oh, that's a lot of money for a mobile game. It is. We saw in the demo only one level out of 8, and possibly more past that because you have like the final bosses. If you're going like the Mega Man route, it's a very deep mobile experience. Like there's a lot of functionality and a lot of variation. It's not just like your endless runner that just loops the same content over and over.
Yeah,
and
it's
over
meant
again.
to be like a
It's-
game that you would
yeah.
actually pay for in the
Yeah.
App Store, like $5 to $10, but we want to make it free. And the other thing to consider, people don't realize, is for our Kickstarter in particular, is like I said, our rewards are really high end, which means they're very expensive to manufacture and ship. So 25% of all the money goes towards making and shipping stuff out. So
Um,
look, she's.
I do, in my entire life, I've only supported 2 Kickstarters. Technically 3, because I do support the Lil BUB Kickstarter too.
All right, thanks,
because I do believe in it. I mean, you can tell there's a care and a quality involved in the creation of this game. Like Ryan was saying, with the fact that like there's a lot of depth even to this first level, and the fact that all of this is going into right now primarily a mobile game is pretty mind blowing. That's there's a lot of care involved. So
it does feel like a full fledged PC or like a Wii U, like you said. Like I played that game and like immediately I was like, oh, this is like Shovel Knight. Like
very much.
There's depth here.
Well, yeah, and that's big. The Shovel Knight was a big influence for our Kickstarter. Drew is a huge Shovel Knight fan.
Oh,
but Shovel Knight is a mobile game. It's a real game, and it's basically. And people don't realize just because we're making it for mobile doesn't make the game any less. The game it still takes the same amount of work as it does to make a PC game, except that it's going to be on a mobile device. I do get the idea. One thing I want to add is we're trying to. You can edit this in earlier, or you can just cut it off. But between us, that pad.
Yeah,
it's cute, it's clever, but it's like, especially on a small screen, you're like,
I was gonna say on the big screen, like I played on a big tablet, and it was like a little hard to like go left to right because my thumb is like doing really big motions.
Well, a couple things we're doing is we're gonna add an option to be able to move the pad wherever you want.
Oh, okay.
To shrink it.
That'd be perfect. Yep.
Also to have no pad and you just use your finger to move the spaceship
very nice.
around.
Okay. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so I think that is going to really make the game more fun to play.
Yeah, and it just accommodates a lot of play styles too. Like that makes the game even more for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
And at this point, if you are interested, the first level is totally fucking free. You can play this right now and know what we're talking about. And
if you want to play it, it's at lilbub.com/demo.
yeah, and you can.
Made it so easy.
I mean, I found it in my Android app store.
I did. The Google Play Store.
Yeah. I mean, it was super easy to download. Boom, right there we are. Lil BUB, Hello Earth, so fucking easy.
Yeah, I bet you if you just Google or just search Lil BUB in the app store, it comes up.
I just figured out her arch enemy. It's your kid.
That'd be
right?
good, but no, Roscoe the raccoon. The raccoon's already named after my kid. But that
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, there's a lot of like for Bub, like super Bub fans. There's a ton of like inside
little Easter eggs.
Nice.
Yeah, or you just like the yogurt. Obviously, if you really know Bub, that's her favorite food.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. Another thing, again, you can edit it in later if you want, or we could just be talking about. But
We're just talking, bro.
if you saw the I don't know if you saw the stretch goal, but we want to do a time sync. So I don't know if you noticed.
Level. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you play it now, you see it goes from night to day as you play the platformer.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is that it'll actually sync to your clock and go from night to day depending on when you're playing. So if you play at night, it's going to be nighttime, but we're going to have time. We're going to have time-linked Easter eggs. So like you play, and what you were saying. So like if you play like even the first level, and you find the secret spot, there's a little sign, and you read the sign that says, come back here at 1:30 a.m. And if you literally come back at 1:30 a.m., like a hot air balloon will come down. You can jump in it and play like a bonus level. So stuff like that, where it's completely time dependent, and you have to like write down, and you probably have like a notebook, like if you go to the pause menu to write down where and
so
when
like
you should go.
really old school shit. Because I remember as a kid before we had the internet, that's how you keep track of things. And I had a notebook. My buddy had a Pringles can full of just passwords and things that he'd saved and just shoved
that
in there.
seems super inefficient. Why would you put it in a Pringles can?
Yeah, they get all
That wasn't
greasy
me.
and covered in like cheese dust.
That's the worst idea.
Him. That wasn't me, but I just remember him pulling the Pringles
You
can
need to
out.
name
But
this
they don't
friend.
have that in games anymore where you can like take notes?
Not a lot of
Not
them.
really. I mean, the internet has kind of ruined games to a degree. I mean,
Well, most games don't even have manuals anymore. Now it's just you buy the box and it's just a disc. That's it. So you can't even write notes in.
which is why we have this big argument. I think everything will be digital within a decade.
No, it is. That's fine. I just hate that.
Yeah. But
Well,
that's the way
vinyl's like... made
it's
a
had a
resurgence.
resurgence, yes. And I know that there is an NES style stretch goal for Little Bub, but that's not an actual copy of the game, right? It's
No. Oh, you mean the reward
cartridge?
tier?
The
Yeah,
cartridge.
is just they're blank cartridges that we got.
Okay.
And they it's just
For show.
yeah, it's just cool.
It's
to
like
get
a little
it.
trophy.
Oh, dude, I mean,
Yeah.
for it to be able to play in a Nintendo would be insane.
Top notch.
Dude,
Your graphics
but for $100
are a little too nice
Yeah,
for
they're a
Nintendo.
little
Yeah,
above
they will.
Nintendo.
It's a
so-
little too nice for Nintendo.
Would it SNES work? No.
Yeah, they're very SNES for a minute. They're almost 16 bits. So. But yeah,
That's a matter of color or what? Or just resolution?
Yeah, it's the 8. So 8 bits means 8 colors on the screen. You guys are using a lot more colors, so yeah, it's probably 16 bits, maybe even
it
32.
might be 30. I think I don't know. I don't know enough, but it's definitely it's retro style in the modern age. So
Did you hear that, Bub?
you're a killer.
Bub, you look awesome right now, but you're not even looking at the camera.
So yeah. So again, the Kickstarter. You can play the demo. Is there if you want to plug the team for the Kickstarter or for your team of the development team?
Like, talk about those dudes?
Well, just give them a name shout out.
Oh, yeah.
They're
What's
out
up,
there
Drew?
Twitters or anything.
Dude. Matt. Like that?
Yeah, sure.
That's cool.
Just like that.
Did I
yeah.
even forget anyone? No, that's
There's
the whole
Drew.
team.
There's Matt. There's the
Oh,
dude
my
from
God, of
New
course.
Zealand.
Florian.
Yeah.
He's the whiz, man.
Yeah.
So another stretch goal is going to be a like Mario Maker.
Really?
For the game.
So like customizable
Level
Bub
builder.
levels.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not to spoil anything, but Florian created his own proprietary like game building platform that, and he has a lot of like people that are super into this thing, and it's basically like a drag and drop. He designs all the levels, and
Really?
you can do
Okay.
it real quick. So the idea is that if we get far enough, it'll be like available for people to build their own Bub levels.
Super
It gets
impressive.
super cool,
That
yeah.
could be super fucking crazy.
Oh, I just had a great idea for the game.
yeah?
Yeah.
We'll write it
we're
down.
gonna do a
And we'll-
water park
yeah.
level.
Damn.
Like water slides and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's gonna be awesome.
brilliant.
Well, Mike, Bub, you guys, we really want to thank you guys for coming on to our show and gracing us with your presence. We're really going to push this. We hope the Kickstarter really takes off and things. We would really like to see this funded. I know me personally. I can't speak for Ryan. But,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
there is
I'm
a
much
love
more
here.
impressed with this than some of the other demos and things I've played.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
So-
that really means a lot. We
You've
appreciate
done well, and I hope that it happens. I would be very ecstatic.
It'll
So-
happen. It's
I
meant
mean,
to
Bub
happen.
has that magic. So
And at the very least, we can count on your video and audio guys to back the project at least $2,000 each. Right?
yeah, totally, they're in.
Hartman loves video games so much.
He loves video games and spending money. I
Those-
know,
Oh,
I know
that's
both those
perfect.
things about him.
Dude, you're like the core demographic.
So again, thank you guys. Again, the Kickstarter is Little Bub, Hello Earth. Check that out. It is absolutely worth your time. If you are unsure at all, there is a totally free demo you can play. As always, you can find us at
Facebook.com/experiencegrind. You can find us at Twitter.com/expgrindpodcast and our website, www.experiencegrind.com, where we keep all of our episodes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, death threats, whatever,
We like
experienceggrindpodcast@gmail.com. Mail us there. And we put up all of our video stuff on twitch.tv/experiencegrind, and you can find us on YouTube. We do not have a name yet for our channel because we do not have enough subscribers. So
when we get there.
just search for Experience Grind. We will be there.
I'm sure if you search for Experience Grind and Little Bub, this is going to come up. So, I mean, Little Bub is huge.
Yes.
Well, she's
Oh,
actually
no.
very small.
No, yeah.
She's
You
very
search for
tiny,
Little
kid.
Bub. We're going to be like,
Like
300.
50, yeah. Okay, 300.
We're gonna
That's
be in
more
the
like I was giving you
300s.
some benefit, but
We'll have to go to page
again,
8 of the videos. We'll be there.
thank you, Bub. Thank you, Mike, as always.
Yes.
This has
Thanks,
been
man.
great, and we look forward to
Yes,
having you
thank
back
you.
to talk about this Crondor game.
Dude,
It's gonna
I'll
happen.
do it, yeah.
I'm telling you.
what we should do is make a pact where we start playing on X date.
and just do it.
Sort of,
I'm
yeah,
down.
and then we all get together. It's like book club, but for for old obscure PC games from
Excellent.
the 90s.
All right.
I'm very down
I'm
for
so
that.
down. I'm down.
Cool.
Thank you guys as always. You guys are the best fans in the world. I will not tell you the usual tagline. Grind out.